sound like you're looking after your man as if he's one of your kids. And that is where this whole tradwife thing, the lines get a bit blurred. I don't really get it, because it's almost like, yeah, you're a traditional housewife, but you're looking after your man-child as well. What is up, people? Welcome back to another video. For those of you who are brand new around here, a very warm welcome. I'm super grateful to have you come and join us in this child-free living space. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about all things tradwife. According to this article I found, apparently those who follow the traditional gender roles are in fact less responsive parents. So let's look a little closer into that. So before we move on, I'm gonna actually put a description of tradwives for context. So the belief behind the movement is that wives should not work. Rather, they should spend their days cooking, cleaning, wearing modest and feminine dress, and practicing traditional etiquette. They should also be submissive to their husbands and always put them first. Can we talk about how I don't understand why some traditional housewives, especially from like the 50s and 60s, where they used to be seen like basically looking like they were going on a night out, they looked dressed up and their hair was all done nicely and they wore these special dresses and shoes. Like, I don't get it. Like, you're cleaning the house. When I'm cleaning the house, I look like a fucking tramp. But anyway, I'm not gonna be dressing up, looking all nice, to then go fucking sweat while I'm trying to hoover the stairs. Genuinely believe there are some women out there who must love the feeling of being submissive to men and being controlled by a man, and the man being the head of the house and or head of the finances. I can't see what that kick is, but to each their own. And I'm not just talking about stay-at-home mothers, I'm talking about tradwives who are submissive to their men and who put their men before everyone else, including their kids, which I find hella weird. But anyway, more on that later on. However, I usually say, I like to think I'm quite fair and I like to say to each their own. However, one thing I have noticed is these types of women who go on these traditional roles and they're all for women being submissive and women having as many kids as they possibly can and women not working are usually the first to hate on those independent women who, you know, choose other stuff over kids. You know, they might choose to live alone, or they might choose to travel the world, or their careers, or, you know, adopting loads of cats and dogs. I just find that they're the ones who always hate on those specific women as well. And let's not get started on how most of the hate that the child-free community get tend to be from triggered men, because, you know, there's nothing worse than being a man and not feeling needed by other women, right? More on that later on. So in their new study, the team set out to understand the link between hostile sexism and parenting attitudes and behaviors. 95 sets of parents were surveyed about their parenting styles before they were observed by the researchers while playing with their 5-year-old child. Interesting. The observations also showed that both fathers and mothers with higher hostile sexism showed less responsive parenting. Responsive parenting refers to family interactions in which parents are aware of their children's emotional and physical needs and respond appropriately and consistently, according to the National Physicians Center. What I find really interesting is you would assume that if you're taking up traditional gender roles, so, you know, traditional wife who stays at home and makes the home, raises the children, and traditional man goes to work, brings the bread home, you'd think that if anything, they'd be like better than other parents who maybe don't follow those traditional gender roles. I would assume they'd be more attentive to their child's emotional and physical wants and needs, which is why when I was reading that, I was like, really now? This is interesting. So of course I went into the comment section and I was like, I want to see other people's viewpoints because I'm a so-called tradwife, whatever that means. You obviously know what it means if you're calling yourself a tradwife. I stay home, keep house. Husband is the provider. I actually rule the house, although I'm dependent on his earnings. It's worked out great for us. He gets an easy life, to be fair. It's teamwork. I don't know, that I just found there were so many oxymorons in this one comment. I genuinely had to break it down. So I wanted to go through that with you guys because I thought maybe I'm reading something wrong or I've just seen something different. Right. I actually rule the house, although I'm dependent on his earnings. I didn't really understand this because in my head, you can't rule anything that you're not in control of. How are you ruling a household that yes, I understand you make home and you cook and clean for your man and you obviously raise his kids, but the fact that you're fully dependent on this guy's wages, which means if he gets up and leaves you tomorrow, you have fuck all. You ain't running no house because you don't have a house. You're not the one contributing to it. So how you're in charge of it, I don't actually really know what she meant by that, unless I'm reading something really wrong. And it might be great that it's worked out for her, but I think she sounded a bit delusional personally. And then at the bottom, she doesn't even realize, oh my God, she doesn't even realize what she said, because he gets an easy life, to be fair. It's teamwork. I mean, yeah, to an extent it's teamwork because they're both playing different parts of a team, but you've just admitted you make your husband's life easy for him. Like, I get that he works and he might have a really stressful job. You're giving him an easy life because you're basically babysitting him. That's what it sounded like to me. Like, you sound like you're looking after your man as if he's one of your kids. And that is where this whole Tradwife thing, the lines get a bit blurred. I don't really get it, because it's almost like, yeah, you're a traditional housewife, but you're looking after your man-child as well. They are less responsive because their first response is to please the husband. The kid always comes second. Normal women will always put their children first because they are small and need attention. And a real man will behave like an adult and also promote his own children above himself. Bingo. This woman got it bang on point, and I totally could see. And it's not just because obviously I'm not a trad wife myself, but I totally can see this makes perfect sense. It is because the woman is so busy trying to please the husband, trying to meet all of his needs before anybody else's. And it's like, well, I do actually think your children should come first because they are minors. They cannot look after themselves. I mean, you're raising kids who are basically dependent on you for at least the first 18 years of their lives. You shouldn't really be putting another adult first, in my personal humble opinion. I find situations like this make me so nervous when there's a traditional couple where wife stays at home, husband makes all the money. What if one of you drops dead? Like, God forbid, I hope that never happens. I would hate for a young child to have to live without one parent or lose one parent in such a way. But can we talk about, if your husband drops dead, what are you actually gonna do? And more to the point, on your husband's perspective, if you drop dead as a trad wife, he ain't going to be able to, what is he going to do? He's not going to know how to raise his kids because he never spends any time with them. He's not going to know how to use any of the like washing machines. He's not going to know how to cook and clean after himself. Like, these are basic life skills. It shouldn't be a kind of, you do that because you're a woman and you do that because you're a man. This is basic survival. This is basic life skills. I learned how to cook for myself. My husband also knows how to cook, right? It's not about I cook for him, he cooks for me. We can both cook. Because bottom line is, it's a life skill. We both know how to clean ourselves, look after ourselves. For me, teamwork is when you kind of meet in the middle. And I do get what the trad wife meant. I'm trying to see it from her point of view of like, it is teamwork. But it's more a reliance thing. Your husband is reliant on you to do all the housework because he can't do it. And you're reliant on him to bring the money home because you're not doing it. But should we talk about how a lot of trad wives are actually supported by men? There's two sides to this all the time, isn't there? There's the men who like, oh, you're a freeloader, you're a gold digger, you're relying on somebody else. And then there's the men who secretly like that because, of course, they like people being dependent on them. It makes them feel powerful. You know, this is why so many men get triggered by child-free women and by single women specifically. Imagine single and child-free. That's hella triggering for men because they're fucking like, well, I can't play a part in your life. When actually not all women want a man because of need or to look after them or to keep a roof above their heads. A lot of women are quite happy doing this. It's more a case of they just want a nice partner in life to spend time with. Okay, I'm just gonna say it as it is, guys. I find that a lot of men who support the trad wife movement and who are looking for a trad wife in their own lives are simply just trying to replace their mothers. Because the bottom line is a trad wife is looking after their husband as if it's their own child. That's what I can see, and that's probably why they end up from this survey being more neglectful towards their parents because they're trying to look after a man-child in the fucking process. Men are more than capable of actually looking after themselves. It's a case of they just don't want to. You know, you should really be putting your children first. They're minors, they need your assistance, and more importantly, they didn't actually ask to be here. You brought them here. They're your responsibility. Look, I just find that a lot of mothers raise their kids, specifically their sons, to be incredibly dependent on them. So when they grow up and become adults, they're literally just replacing their mother with a wife. That is basically it. And I have heard a lot of stuff online about boy mums. I'm not going to go into it in this video. I'm going to leave it right there. But if you know, you know. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, guys. I have absolutely loved having you here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, give this video a massive thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.